I stand in the kitchen of my childhood home, the comforting scent of simmering tomato sauce mingling with the sweet smell of freshly baked bread. It's a Sunday, and the clatter of silverware along with cheerful voices fills the air, resonating with years of laughter and love. I can still hear my mother's soft humming as she flooded the kitchen with warmth, preparing for the family gathering. My heart swells as memories wash over me, pulling me back to simpler times when I believed in fairy tales wrapped in Sunday dinners. As I chop onions, my hands are deft, but my mind drifts to Mark, my son, who has always been my pride and joy. I remember the late nights spent helping him with school projects, his small hands struggling to create a solar system out of styrofoam balls while I laughed with him, my heart so full. The sound of crickets outside became our backdrop as we shared dreams under starlit skies. Those moments offered me a sense of purpose. Every sacrifice I made, from working multiple jobs to ensure his education to postponing my own dreams, felt worth it. I think back to his first soccer game when I cheered at the sidelines, my voice hoarse from the excitement. I can still see his chubby little hands waving in triumph when he scored his first goal. My heart soared. I would do anything to see that smile. Those moments wove an invisible thread of bond between us, a reminder of my unwavering support. Even as he grew, I remained by his side. I recall arranging his study schedule, making him his favorite spaghetti for dinner after long days at school, and wiping away his sweat and tears during hard times. I did it all without hesitation, fueled by love. The kitchen became a sanctuary of our connection. Every meal I prepared, every dish I washed, and every corner of this home infused with the spirit of nurturing. Yet, as I reflect, I feel a twinge of discomfort weaving its way through my memories. They become tainted, shadows of a striking reality creeping in. The first signs I missed. I remember the day Rachel came into our lives, full of confidence, her laughter as bright as the sun. Upon her arrival, I welcomed her with open arms, eager to embrace this new chapter in our family story. But there it was, an undercurrent of something unfamiliar. Rachel's snide remarks about my cooking began as playful jests, something I brushed off with a laugh. "You really should try this, Clara," she said once, holding an exotic dish aloft. I felt a twinge, but her smile swept the discomfort aside. Surely, she's just excited to share her culinary experiences, I reasoned. Yet deep down, beneath her charming facade lay seeds of disdain that I chose to ignore amidst my hopes for their future. I stand now, the cutting board in front of me full of unfinished onions staring into the distance. A creeping sensation of unease fills my chest. Did I choose to be blind to the warnings? My heart clenches tightly as I remember the subtle shift in the atmosphere during our family dinners, Rachel's comments hanging like heavy clouds. As the warmth of memories fades into shadows, I realize my connection with Mark feels fragile, covered in layers of unspoken words and unacknowledged tensions. Touching the cool edge of the cutting board reminds me of the weight of my sacrifices. I squeeze my eyes shut and breathe deeply, needing clarity. It's time to stand firm, to uphold the bond I once shared with my son amid the growing chaos. The kitchen shall not just be a place of meals, but a foundation for reclaiming our lost connection, even if it means facing the bitter truths lurking beneath smiles and toasts. The autumn leaves crunched beneath my feet as I stepped into the bustling cafe, welcomed by the rich aroma of coffee and the cheerful chatter of patrons. It was the morning after Mark's engagement party, and my heart swelled with pride. A new chapter was beginning, and I was eager to embrace Rachel, hopeful she would become an integral part of our lives. I searched for her amidst the cozy chaos, spotting her at a corner table. She looked radiant, her laughter ringing out like music, causing my chest to swell with optimism. "Clara!" she beamed as I approached, wrapping her arms around me in an unexpectedly warm embrace. I could feel the tension of their wedding planning buzzing around us, but her brightness was infectious. In that moment, I believed that we would both contribute to a beautiful family tapestry. The days turned into weeks, and as Rachel settled into her role, I continued to include her in everything, from family dinners to holiday planning. I delighted in showing her old recipes, delicately slipping dough onto the countertop, guiding her through the art of pie making. I felt like a mother hen fluffing my feathers as she took notes eagerly. Yet, even amid laughter, I caught the flicker of something darker in her eyes, an impatience that often followed her compliments. At our first Sunday dinner, as a complete family, the table was adorned with my favorite linens, the warmth of candlelight flickering against the walls. The savory smell of roast chicken filled the air, coaxing everyone to gather around. I watched Rachel carefully navigate the conversations, interjecting clever remarks and stealing glances at Mark, who seemed utterly enchanted. But behind the veil of her charm, I detected an unsettling disregard towards my contributions. "Mum, did you use that old recipe again?" Rachel teased lightly, though her tone bit deeper. I tried to laugh it off, but the words slid off her tongue like ice. The way she leaned back, fingers drumming on the table, suggested she felt secure in belittling my efforts. Mark chuckled, his eyes darting from Rachel to me, unaware or unwilling to acknowledge the tension brewing. As the weeks passed, my unease grew alongside the sips of wine at our gatherings. Rachel's little comments about my cooking became frequent. "Oh, Clara, I didn't know boiled vegetables could taste that bland," she chimed during one dinner, her eyes dancing with amusement while Mark dug into his food, avoiding my gaze. I felt the sting in the heat of my cheeks as I swallowed hard. My heart sank. A warning bell ignited in the pit of my stomach. Yet the moment passed, smothered by laughter and exchanged pleasantries. But the worst came one evening when I returned home from the grocery store, bags weighing heavy in my arms. I found Rachel in the living room rearranging our family photos. My breath caught as I watched her pull down frames I had arranged lovingly. Memories of Mark growing up, holiday celebrations, and family milestones. She leaned back, surveying her handiwork, before her lips twisted into a smile that hinted at satisfaction. "Trying to modernize a bit," she said nonchalantly, glancing at me as if I had entered her space uninvited. The warmth of the room vanished, replaced by a chill that knotted my stomach. A wave of indignation washed over me, yet the words to voice it tangled with the fear of creating tension in the family. I fought the impulse to intervene, knowing Rachel's response would be defensive and dismissive. Each encounter chipped away at my spirit, dulling my once bright resolve. Family dinners turned into a battleground of unspoken conflicts, where Rachel's quips served as jabs, laughing at my old-fashioned ways while I stood defenseless. Anxiety gripped me tighter each time Mark laughed with her, and I could feel the widening distance stretching between us. Was I too sensitive? I often questioned myself late at night, staring at the ceiling, tormented by the sounds of silence in my home. My heart tightened, grappling with an invisible thread that pulled me further away from my son and deeper into a sea of isolation. The love I had poured into our family life felt mocked, undermined by Rachel's control and my own reluctance to stand up against her. And yet, in the darkest corners of my mind, I remembered the warmth of my mother, her gentle strength guiding me through storms. I could almost hear her reassuring whispers. "I must illuminate the shadows, find the courage to stand tall." My son deserves to know who I am, to remember the countless nights I fought for his happiness. My worth shouldn't be eclipsed by Rachel's manipulative grasp. Consequences linger at the edge of my thoughts, warning me to either confront the truth or risk losing everything I had built. And as Christmas approached, a time typically filled with joy and warmth, I felt the urgency to act before the strain in our family dynamics shattered completely. I couldn't ignore the shadows of Rachel's contempt anymore, knowing it would only deepen the crevices in my relationship with Mark. The time to explore my strength was coming. I just needed to summon the courage to reclaim what was rightfully mine before I was completely consumed. As the holiday season unfolded, the nights grew cold and the smell of cinnamon and pine filled the air. I immersed myself in the festive preparations, cutting paper for intricate ornaments, baking gingerbread, and stirring thick batches of spiced cider. But beneath the surface, I felt as though I was caught in a tempest, a roiling storm of emotions threatening to engulf me. Christmas Eve arrived, radiant with twinkling lights illuminating my home. Family and friends gathered around the table, laughter ringing out like music. But as I looked around, my heart felt heavier with every passing moment. I saw them, Rachel, animated and charming, drawing Mark's attention like a moth to a flame, while I quietly watched from the sidelines, a mere spectator in my own life. Every laugh of theirs was like a piercing arrow, their smiles hinting at unspoken camaraderie, all while I remained an outcast. I served the meal with meticulous care, setting the table with cherished family heirlooms, but Rachel's dismissive comments cut like glass. "Wow, Clara, you really went all out for a traditional dinner," she quipped lightly, her eyes twinkling. I forced out a laugh that felt hollow, the weight of her disdain suffocating beneath layers of cheer. In those moments, I felt invisible, as if I had become a ghost, a shadow lurking in my own universe. Mark, oblivious to the churning emotions in the room, reached for the mashed potatoes I had spent hours preparing, but did not notice the tension strumming between Rachel and me. My efforts lost on his deaf ears. It seemed that each meal prepared was met with critique rather than gratitude, each gesture of love twisted into a joke that few understood. And as the holidays stretched on, the silent humiliations continued. Rachel's constant reminders of her expertise crept into everyday conversation. I would overhear her on the phone, regaling friends with embellished tales of her culinary conquests. "Oh, Clara's recipes. They're a bit outdated," she'd say, her laughter trailing off like smoke. The way she discussed me, an old relic, shredded my heart into pieces, leaving it raw and exposed. On New Year's Day, as we gathered for brunch, the atmosphere was charged with the excitement of fresh starts. I prepared a hearty spread of everything I held dear, the fluffy quiche, vibrant fruit, and steaming coffee. But as we sat around the table, Rachel took the lead again. "I think this year I'll plan the brunch for my friends. You know, something modern and fresh," she said, her smile wide as she folded her arms, fully expecting the praises of others. She shot me a look that mingled mockery with amusement. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck as an uncomfortable silence enveloped the table. Mark finally turned to me, looking expectant. "What do you think, Mom?" His voice felt like a lifeline thrown in murky waters, but even that small gesture felt drowned out by Rachel's superiority. "Oh, of course, dear. Change can be good," I forced out, my voice trembling. I poured a little more coffee, desperate to quell the turmoil brewing inside. My hands shook slightly, betraying the calm demeanor I tried so hard to uphold. But deep down, anger and hurt wrestled for dominance. In the following weeks, the dynamic shifted surreptitiously. Family gatherings morphed from moments of joy into performances where I played the reluctant part of the jester, forced to laugh at my own expense. One evening at a casual dinner, Rachel leaned over with a condescending grin and inquired, "Clara, what's your secret to being so typical?" The others erupted in laughter while the bluntness of her words settled in my gut like a stone. My son chuckled along, oblivious to the implication. Each barb felt heavier, deepening the rift between my hopes for connection and the bitter taste of rejection. Somewhere in the recesses of my mind, the sting of betrayal spiraled into a storm of self-doubt. I questioned my worth endlessly. Had I truly become irrelevant? Was I still the pillar of strength Mark needed, or a faded memory? I found myself retreating further into silence, pouring my heart into a diary during the sleepless nights that stretched before me. Writing became my sanctuary, a secret place where I could release my frustrations onto the page. "They can mute me at the table, never in my heart," I wrote repeatedly, grounding myself within that mantra. It reminded me that my worth was not dictated by their attention. As winter slipped slowly into spring, I surfaced from this emotional haze with a resolve to reclaim my dignity. Armed with a newfound awareness, I recognized the need to peel back the layers of pain and confront Rachel, not in anger, but with the graceful strength my mother had once taught me. I longed to shine light on the shadows she cast over our lives, to speak the words that had been silenced for too long. I wrestled with this decision, my heart racing with uncertainty, but each entry in my diary solidified my courage. It was time to stand, not just for myself, but for the bond I had built with Mark. The long holiday season had come and gone, and beneath the frost I felt the promise of renewal rising within me. The first signs of spring brought a refreshingly crisp air that felt like a catalyst for change. I reveled in the sight of flowers nudging through the frost, bright colors splashing the world around me. Inside, however, I felt like a tightly coiled spring, tense and ready to explode. It was time not just to gather the strength to confront Rachel, but to investigate the dynamics that had already sown discord among us. I couldn't simply charge into confrontation without first having a clearer picture of the manipulation and control that had encroached upon my family life. The first step was observation, watching, listening, and gathering evidence when Rachel wielded her influence over our dinners and family gatherings. I decided to record her subtle tactics, the way she dismantled my efforts without any regard for the years I had dedicated to nurturing my family. As I returned home after my morning walks, I deliberately chose to attend dinners prepared at home. Each night had its familiar scent: roast chicken, baked potatoes, or vegetable gratins seasoned with love. But mingling with these comforting aromas was an undercurrent of tension. I noted down how Rachel's comments, each loaded with barbs, made their way into our conversations. As winter faded, I began compiling a mental dossier, focusing not only on Rachel's behavior, but also on Mark's reactions, or lack thereof. The next dinner was scheduled for a quiet Saturday night. I watched closely as Rachel turned to me, her chin lifted slightly, her eyes glinting like a cat's ready to pounce. "Clara, I think that's a little too spicy for this group," she remarked, looking at the chili I prepared with pride. I felt every set of eyes at the table dart between us, tension coiling in the air. Mark raised an eyebrow, a flicker of concern in his gaze. "In my defense, it's a recipe from my mother's heritage," I said carefully, my voice steady. "She always included a kick to bring warmth." "Oh, of course, but maybe next time we could use something less bold," she chirped, tapping her fingertip against the rim of her glass, a familiar gesture of condescension. I breathed deeply, holding back the rise of frustration in my throat. The laughter that followed was not warm. It felt achingly hollow to my ears. In the coming weeks, I paid extra attention, becoming a silent observer to the intricate plays being enacted between them. Whenever the three of us gathered, a pattern emerged. Rachel would initiate conversation, her voice honeyed, convincing, only to direct it towards myself with a pointed jest that left me exposed, while Mark simply nodded along. Each evening's humiliation felt like watching a meticulously choreographed dance of betrayal. One afternoon, I found myself idly scrolling through our family group chat, where Rachel curated images, sharing snapshots of their latest escapades. Photos of unaware intimacy flashed in my inbox. Mark and Rachel clinking champagne glasses at a fancy restaurant, all smiles under the fluorescent lights. "Cheers to our new adventures. Love you, babe," it read. My chest tightened as I scrolled deeper, realizing these were not just celebratory moments. They were a declaration of Rachel's grip on my son's heart, a heart I once held tightly in my hands. The longer I spent grappling with these revelations, the clearer the realization became. I had to confront Rachel, but I needed to be armed with the truth rather than emotion. I began revisiting past gatherings in my mind, desperately sifting through memories constructed over years, sacrifices I had made for us, hidden beneath her veil of charm and manipulation. Like a detective, I compiled lists in my trusty diary, specifics of her comments, reminders of past holidays twisted into gags, favoring her own narrative of superiority. Each page resonated with my findings, emphasizing every moment I'd let Rachel's comments chip away at my dignity. The palpable tension pushing against my heart solidified my aim. I need to evoke a sense of solidarity with Mark amidst this chaos. Fruitful weekends with Mark at our usual diner became expeditions of discovery for me. "You know, sometimes I feel like," I began, weighing my words carefully. As he responded, I guided him to reflect on Rachel's behavior. "Does it ever bother you when Rachel jokes about my cooking or, well, about me?" I ventured cautiously, watching as he paused. A flicker of apprehension flickered in his eyes. Not really. She's just being herself." His words felt distant, shrouded by the anger I held close. The more I confronted the situation, the more reticent he became, pushing me into a storm of helplessness. I noted the subtle shifts, the way he cringed as I mentioned Rachel, a woman he was enamored with but unaware was tugging at the fabric of our bond. I needed the moment of realization to arrive, a moment where he could see through Rachel's glimmering facade, even for an instant. With these insights flowing, I turned my eyes toward those glimmers of gray, Rachel and Mark's interactions outside my home, a dinner invitation from Rachel's friends that he had mentioned jesting. Perhaps if I could probe the dynamics of her power outside our family gatherings, I could expose her masking of true intentions. Equipped with my observations and fueled by memories of my mother's strength guiding me, I felt an undeniable sense of purpose radiating within me, igniting a fire of resilience. I would pull together my evidence and present it in a calm, measured way, a strategy nurtured with dignity and resolve. I had come too far to turn back now. My son deserved to understand the complexities underlining Rachel's charm. It was nearing the moment where I could reclaim my voice at the table again, determined and unwavering. Each gathering reminded me that it was not just about my dignity, but also about preserving our collective familial bond, a tapestry woven from love and resilience, a story that neither Rachel nor anyone else could snip apart. It was time to weave those threads together again. The days grew heavier as anticipation coiled around my heart, each second ticking toward the inevitable confrontation with Rachel. I was wearing the armor of awareness, positioning myself as a careful observer, collecting insights during our family interactions like pieces of a shattered mirror, reflecting truths I'd long ignored. Each dinner was a stage where Rachel's manipulations unfurled, the sweet tone of her laughter layered with barbs that dug into my skin. The pivotal Wednesday evening arrived, and Mark invited Rachel for dinner, a casual gathering meant to warm the atmosphere. The aroma of hearty beef stew simmered in the air as I poured my heart into every detail, from the freshly baked biscuits to the flickering candles on the dining table, illuminated against family photos where we all shared smiles, untainted by tension. I held a fragile hope that perhaps this time would be different, that we could reclaim a bit of warmth amidst the coolness that threatened to envelop us. When Rachel walked in, her shoes clicked against the wooden floor, echoing like a warning. She entered with a cascade of energy, her hair glinting under the warm light. "Clara, I can't wait to taste your cooking," she exclaimed. The sweetness of her words tinged with a shade of sarcasm I felt, even before the tension of such moments could surface. I forced a smile and settled deeper into my unyielding resolve. Moments later, Mark arrived, his enthusiasm bringing a brief reprieve. "Mom, this looks incredible," he said, his genuine warmth meeting my heart like a gentle embrace. But just like that, Rachel interrupted, her laughter cutting sharply through the moment like a knife. As we settled into dinner, Rachel launched into her usual repertoire of stories featuring her latest career achievements, positioning them to overshadow my contributions, as if plotting to erase me from the narrative of our family. "Did I tell you I'm helping my friend plan a wedding?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with delight. "It's going to be fabulous, unlike the boring traditions Clara insists on." Comments like these bounced around the table, ricocheting off the walls of my resolve. I took a breath, allowing the warmth of the room's light to help center me. "Tradition has its beauty, too," I countered, careful to maintain an even tone. "But it can also evolve." "Sure, but not too typical," Rachel replied, her smile infuriatingly wide yet dripping with condescension. Laughter followed, rich and mocking, and I felt every gaze fixated on me. The unwelcome weight of eyes compared my self-worth against Rachel's polished charm. With each bite of beef stew, the conversations unfolded with an unmistakable undertone, a competition to belittle rather than uplift. The table felt like a crucible, taut with tension, and I let the heat of their jests fuel the growing fire inside me. "They can mute me at the table, never in my heart," I whispered in my mind. As the evening progressed, I sensed an inflection point was near. My heart pounded, urging me to speak up while I still had my courage. "Rachel," I finally said, the moment ripening into something fragile and powerful. "Can we talk?" "What about?" she replied, feigning disinterest, but I saw the shift in her demeanor, her expression tightening, anticipating the confrontation. "About how you've been treating me," I said, my voice steady. "The jokes and dismissals have crossed a line." A hush fell across the table as if the very air had sucked in a breath. I felt the room shrink, compressing the unspoken words swirling around us. I fixed my gaze on Rachel, allowing my heart to push past the rising tide of anxiety. "Clara, come on," Rachel scoffed, her laughter still echoing amid the silence as she attempted to dismiss the seriousness of my words. "This is just playful teasing. You should lighten up." "But does it feel playful when it hurts?" My voice softened but remained firm. "Your jokes chip away at my dignity. I refuse to let them define my worth anymore." Mark shifted in his seat, his eyes darting between us, and I could see the confusion crackling in the air, mingling with disbelief. His silence had always been like a blade, cutting deeper than Rachel's cruelty. "Mom, are you seriously upset about this?" he asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "I am, Mark, and I need you to see that your laughter shouldn't come at my expense," I urged, feeling empowered as my words flowed. "I will not be silent while my own son joins in at the expense of our bond." With each word, I bore witness to Rachel's facade cracking. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." Her dismissive tone wavered, a tremor of defensiveness creeping in. "I'm not," I replied, heart racing. "I refuse to allow you or anyone else to dictate my identity or my relationship with you both. Family should lift each other up, not tear down." Time seemed to freeze in that moment, thickening the air around us. I sensed Mark's thoughts racing, an inner conflict between loyalty and awareness breaking to the surface. Rachel was no longer the glittering jewel that adorned his life. She was a disruptor, an elegant piece of string inching away from my grip. "Mom," he hesitated, his voice almost trembling. "I never thought. Maybe I missed something. I didn't mean to hurt you." The words felt heavy, laden with realization, and just like that, I knew I had broken through. It felt like a beam of sunlight breaking through the longest night. I softened, extending my hands, hopeful that Rachel would reflect on this moment. "I love you both," I declared, "but I can't allow disrespect to permeate our family. We need trust, understanding, and respect." Rachel shifted uncomfortably, her expression altering as she realized my earnestness. The warmth of hope blossomed within me. My heart felt incandescent as we faced this chance for change together. "No more hiding in the shadows," I whispered aloud, reminding myself. "It's a new beginning for us all." Perhaps we could reclaim the love that intertwined our hearts, the fabric of family that had been frayed but not destroyed. In that fateful moment at the dinner table, amidst the savory stew and flickering candles, I recognized the power of vulnerability and resolve. My voice had emerged, a symphony amidst the noise. The journey to reclaim my dignity was only beginning, but the first step towards restoring our connection had started, and I was ready to navigate the path ahead together. The days following our confrontation brimmed with hope, charged by the possibilities of newfound strength. As I went about my routine, every moment felt infused with an electric current as I reclaimed my footing. Each time Mark visited, he seemed increasingly open, deliberately curating moments to engage me in conversation. We began to rediscover our connection, turning casual talks into deeper explorations of our thoughts and feelings. But Rachel lingered like an unseen shadow, her presence a constant reminder of the complications entangled in our family dynamics. I often saw uncertainty flicker across Mark's face as he navigated the delicate balance between loyalty to her and the evolving awareness of our strained bond. I recognized that to uproot Rachel's influence, I would need a plan, a way to lay bare the undercurrents of tension without alienating my son further. I decided to host a small barbecue in our backyard, an informal gathering that could foster camaraderie while encouraging honest dialogue. When I announced the idea to Mark, I saw the glimmer of excitement in his eyes, a chance for normalcy amidst the turmoil. It would also give me an opportunity to create the right environment to address Rachel's behavior without direct confrontation. As I prepared for the cookout, a sense of purpose enveloped me. The sun was bright as it cast a warm glow over our home. I meticulously arranged the table with vibrant flowers, the petals dancing with the summer breeze as I prepped marinated chicken, corn on the cob, and colorful salads. The sizzling aroma wafted as the grill heated, and I filled the air with laughter while reminiscing about family memories, a strategy to stir bonds beyond the surface level. When Mark and Rachel arrived, I could feel a palpable tension hovering just beyond our fingertips. Rachel entered with her usual charm, but I sensed an unease in her laughter. "This looks wonderful, Clara," she beamed, though her eyes darted toward Mark, searching for approval. "Thanks. I thought we could enjoy a nice family evening outside," I replied, intentional and gracious. Together, we brought the food to the table, Rachel volunteering to assist in a half-hearted way. But I could see her assessing the situation, analyzing Mark's reactions. As we settled into our places, the atmosphere was palpable, a mixture of light-hearted conversation laced with unspoken tension. I watched carefully as Rachel tossed playful jabs toward Mark while sneaking glances my way. "Mark, do you think your mom actually lightened up her famous ribs recipe?" she teased, laughter echoing in her voice. But I caught the slight edge aimed at me. The air sparked with the weight of her dismissal, and I gripped my fork tightly. "It's not about the recipe, Rachel, it's about enjoying each other's company," I answered, meeting her probing gaze head-on. Mark hesitated but nodded slowly, his eyes flitting back and forth between us. "Yeah, it's good to just be together, right?" I felt a surge of hope. He was starting to see through the veil Rachel had cast, even if just slightly. I needed to drive home the foundation of our conversation from the dinner, and so I led us down a different path. "Rachel, I want to talk about something important. I think humor can uplift, but sometimes it can have sharp edges. Family should support one another, not belittle each other." The tone of my voice was steady, determined to cut through her facade. A taut silence fell over the table like a blanket. Rachel's laughter faded, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. "I think you're reading too much into it, Clara. I joke around like this with everyone." She shot back, her defensiveness surfacing quickly. But Mark's expression shifted, eyes darkening with concern. "I guess I just thought it was all in good fun." His voice trembled just slightly, showing signs of the change brewing inside him. "It can be fun, just not when it starts aiming at your family." I directed my focus back to Mark, allowing my sentiments to spill over. "We're all in this together, and we deserve to be treated with love and respect. Humor should lift us, not put us down." Rachel's eyes narrowed, but I didn't back down. I turned to Mark. "Do you think it feels good to have your worth tied to someone else's jokes?" I asked gently, inviting him to reflect. Mark's brow furrowed as he absorbed my words, emotions etching deeper into his features. "I never thought about it that way," he admitted slowly, apprehensive. "But maybe I should." Taking the opportunity, I seized upon a deeper root. I shared stories from my own past, moments when the jokes and laughter had crossed boundaries, but also where love and understanding had shone through, emphasizing how bonding together felt like a tapestry woven from laughter as well as resilience. The moment of truth curled in the thick air as Mark began to see beyond the laughter, breaking from the popular culture of jokes into deeper meaning, the need for heartfelt connection. Rachel's discomfort grew as she realized that I was illuminating a path away from her control. "Mark," I said carefully, "the next time Rachel makes a comment that bothers you, it's okay to speak up. You deserve to feel respected, too." In my mind, echoed the mantra I had been cultivating: "They can mute me at the table, never in my heart." Dignity surged within me, a shield between the table and my heart. But Rachel's face tightened and she shot back. "You can't just dictate how I speak." Her voice edged higher, crossing into defensiveness. "I've been here trying to have a good time, and now you want to ruin it?" "Not at all." I maintained firm control, leaning in. "But in being part of this family, we all must put our feelings on the table. That includes you, too. We're carrying the weight together." Mark gazed at both of us, uncertainty battling his thoughts, a fracture threatening the ties he had held on to. "I didn't realize he started, glancing at me with growing clarity, that it mattered this much. I think we need to be aware of how we affect each other, I said softly. It's the only way we can heal. The simmer echoed in my chest, a reminder of his strength waiting to be unveiled. As the conversations dipped low and rose high, I felt a surge of unity blossom amidst the barbecue's smoky air. Healing might take time, but we were on the road to reclaiming our dignity together. The journey was hard and tumultuous, but today marked a turning point. I had spoken my truth, and I was ready for whatever came next, hand in hand with my son cultivating respect and love once more within our family. The evening stretched on at the barbecue, with the aroma of grilled meats mingling with the palpable tension thickening the air. Although laughter echoed around us, it felt like a fragile veil draped over deeper truths waiting to emerge. I could sense a pivotal moment approaching, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation simmering in my chest. Rachel, perhaps sensing the shift in dynamics, frantically tried to steer the evening back to her control. "Let's play a game," she proposed brightly, her smile strained as if testing its durability against the undercurrent of tension. "Sounds good to me," Mark replied, eager as though grasping for a lifeline. I nodded, hopeful that this could serve as a distraction leading towards insight rather than more confusion. She pulled out a deck of cards, her fingers brushing across the glossy surface as she announced, "How about truth or dare?" A desperate excitement colored her words. My heart raced. It was a classic game that could draw out hidden feelings or be disastrous. Mark and I exchanged a glance, a silent agreement hanging between us. "Sure," I responded, feeling a wave of vulnerability wash over me, knowing this could be both an opportunity and a trial. Mark took the lead, and as he settled in, I felt my hope surge. "Let's start with a dare for Mom," he said, less nervous than he had been earlier. "I dare you to tell us your most embarrassing moment." I chuckled, embracing the lighthearted spirit as I shared a memory of a particularly disastrous cake I had once baked for his birthday. I forgot to put in the sugar, and it turned out to be more like a brick. Laughter erupted around the table, warmth blooming in my heart, a fragile connection forging its path once more. But then, as if on cue, Rachel interjected with a jab. "Ah, Clara, cooking isn't your strength, is it?" The words dripped with condescension, settling uncomfortably in the air. Mark's brow furrowed immediately, and I could see the uncertainty flickering within him. "That's not really fair, Rachel. Mom might not be a chef, but she puts herself into everything she makes." It was as if time paused for a heartbeat. I felt a wave of pride for Mark's defense, recognizing the dual battle he faced: loyalty to Rachel and the ever-growing awareness of her dismissiveness toward me. Rachel's facade cracked, a flicker of annoyance passing through her eyes. "This is just a game. Why do you have to make it serious?" she shot back, defensive. "That's exactly it," I added gently. "It's not just a game. We need to talk about how we treat each other, even in fun. It matters." Mark met my gaze, the clarity growing as he turned back to Rachel. "It might be casual to you, but it isn't to us." Suddenly, the room felt charged, the air as thick as the meat sizzling on the grill. I took a deep breath, fortifying myself, knowing this was the moment to confront the hostility Rachel had spun around our family. The jokes shouldn't come at the cost of respect. We deserve to uplift one another, I said firmly, my heart pounding with resolve. Rachel inhaled sharply, clearly rattled. "You're taking this too seriously. You can't expect everyone to always tiptoe around your feelings." "Feeling disrespected shouldn't be minimized, Rachel," Mark shot back, his voice steadier now. "We all need to be aware of how our words can impact others." I couldn't help but smile softly at him. It was as if a new, stronger version of my son was emerging, ready to reclaim his own voice amidst the storm. Rachel's expression shifted, disbelief crossing her face as she grappled with the shift in the atmosphere. "I didn't mean anything by it," she defended, but the click of her confidence began to wane. "It's not just about intent," I reminded her, my voice calm yet firm. "It's about effect. Our words shape our family, and we can choose for them to inspire rather than denigrate." Mark nodded slowly, the gravity of the situation settling into clarity. "This is our family, Rachel. I want us to support each other, not tear each other apart." A heavy silence enveloped us, the truth of our confrontation swirling through every corner of the backyard as the sun dipped lower. Rachel stared at her plate, visibly shaken, while Mark and I shared a moment of silent understanding. The tension suddenly felt lighter, each breath full of possibility, as if we had all edged slightly closer to truth and to one another. The veils of misunderstanding had begun to lift, and while the path ahead was still uncertain, the first steps toward healing felt clearer than ever. In that instilled moment of connection, I knew we were forging a new reality together, one rooted in mutual respect and understanding, transforming our fragmented family bond into something resilient. Today marked a courageous turn, and as we faced the complexities of our relationships, I felt the warmth of hope enveloping us like an unseen hand.